Alright, I believe this is episode, whatever, video number 17. I could be wrong, could be 16 or 18, whatever. I lost count. I haven't did anything to this project since the middle of last week. Because Wednesday I worked on it. Thursday I worked on it. And Friday I didn't do much. During the weekend, all I did was clean my bay. So everything's nice and clean. It got all the rust and dirt out of here. The jack that I love to use is officially free. It was underneath my brother's truck holding his motor up while the trans was out, and we got that squared away. So my goal today is to, I'm not sure yet. I still have to do some thinking about what I'm going to do. I know the back of the Bronco chassis needs to come up to get that angle right, because the last video I showed you that the frame rails that I made for the front end of the LeBaron, I cut a pie out of them, and so I bent the ends down so they're like 15 degrees, and that's what the Bronco chassis was level. So to make up for the difference because of this how high this front end is, I need to bring the chassis up. So I brought the front up, but what I need to do now is I need to bring the rear of the chassis up. So what I'll do, slide this jack underneath the rear, jack it up, and hopefully one of the tiers of the big jack stands is where I need everything to be. So then I'll get everything buttoned up. I'm not sure if I want to nut and bolt these rails to the front end and then worry about connecting the rails to the rest of the Bronco chassis, or connecting the rails to the Bronco chassis and then worrying about connecting them to the front end. I think I'm going to connect them to the front end first because that just makes more sense. So let me start on this. I got to get in the groove. I haven't done this in a while. I jacked up the rear of the chassis, and the jack stands were already at the last tier, so they wouldn't hold anything up higher than that. So I put two 2x4s vertical, so that gives me maybe like 2 or 3 inches extra height, which is exactly what I need because I'm looking here, and these angles are basically the same right now. So once these are bolted down, it's going to look different than that, because this is actually going to be like this along the side, but I still gotta, I'm gonna have to bolt these to the front here and then put the power steering pump on and then put the wheels on and then worry about connecting it to there. I'd rather not do it that way, but I'm the only one working on this and I don't know any other way to do that. So here we go. So let's see, I came out here at 8 and it is 1:22. So yeah, been out here for quite a while. But I made some headway on my front pieces. All the angles that I made, all the seams are welded up. I basically did like a bunch of spot welds first in between the metal, grind it all down. Then I did two bigger welds on the side and then grind it down. So it should be strong enough. If not, I guess I'll find out. But I do want to put pieces here. Probably make like almost like a bat wing or something going like that, just to make sure. I mean, you can never be too safe there. And in here I welded in 2 pieces just to hold that the outside pieces together, and then I drilled my holes for my bolts. Here's one of the bolts. Drilled the holes so my bolts go in there, but the bolts actually come up from the bottom. The nuts go in there, and when I figure out where everything needs to be, I will eventually just weld the nut in there. That way The only thing I have to remove is the bolt when taking off the front end. So yeah, right now I'm gonna put these where they need to be. I had pushed this front end forward from the rest of the chassis because I need the room. Once I get them bolted down, I'll see what I need to do with the front end, and then I'll worry about the back. But I do need to make sure that the measurements are going to fit on the outside of these pieces here. And I'm not really worried about them. So what I figured I'd do is I'll weld, I'll put 2 bolts in there, and then weld on the top and the bottom, and the front too. And then I'll have pieces come out here, and I'll nut and bolt them with 2 nuts and bolts, and then weld everything up there. So it should be strong enough. Plus, I do need to make the cross member for the motor, because the motor is going to sit right about here. So what I'll do is I'll try to like branch it off to the existing chassis. That way all that weight isn't on those connections that I make. So I guess I will put these where they need to be, throw the bolts in there, and see how they fit bolted up. Alright, there we go. Are you going to fit all the way in? Or? Are you all the way through? Yes, you are. Alright, so I just got done test fitting the one rail on the passenger side. And what I found out is that the bushing for underneath the rail, but on top of the front end, is like that, but there on the front end it like bubbles out along the side. And since I got a wider rail, or a piece of metal that's going to be the rail, wider than the stock, that indentation from the side of that underneath the control arm is hitting. So what I think I'm going to do is I have like I think it's a 1/8 inch plate. I'm going to box it in because it's beat out anyway. I mean, look how rusted it is. See if I can zoom in and inverted. Right there. It's already rusted out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a plate right in there with a hole for the bolt to go through. So it's actually going to bring it up, and hopefully I can clear this. This is what's fucking it up right now. It kind of bevels out, so it hits all that when I go to bolt it. So I'll just that's what I'll do. I'll just weld a plate right there and try to bring it up some, and hopefully it'll clear all that nonsense there. And then maybe I'll go with a thinner bushing on the front, so the front end's not like that, basically. Okie dokie. Alright, so the problem that I had before was by the time the rail that I made sits on the bushing that goes between the front end and the frame rail, by the time that it touched that, it was already hitting here. But it was only hitting a little bit, so I didn't really want to cut a hole in the rail that I'm making. But so what I decided to do was I have 1/8 inch, almost a 1/4 inch spacer that I made. So hopefully it'll bring it up off of that and go straight across without touching. So let me test fit it. Alright, that's on there. Okay, there's my spacer. Now, are you touching? You're still fucking touching. Wow. So, it's still touching, motherfucker.